Welcome to Contractor Cuts, where we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a successful contracting company.
Welcome back to Contractor Cuts. My name is Clark Turner.
I'm Jared Flo.
Thanks for joining us again. So this week we are diving into being a good spouse and parent while running your company, and why is it so freaking hard?
A little different than our normal one, but I think something that's near and dear to our heart. You know, we've always said that we don't live to work. We work to live. Yeah. That our families, the relationship, the people in our lives are the reason that we do what we do. But unfortunately, because of the way business goes and the earnest desire and the push and things that happen, it ends up flip-flopping. And you're like, I got to get to work because I've got to grind, because I'm pushing to be there for my kids by providing.
Yeah. If I work hard right now, by next year I can be there.
Yeah.
And then it's the next year. So we're diving into that. I think one thing that we do on our annual retreat that's coming up in January is we set goals for each person on the retreat. And it's not just business goals. Nope. It's family goals. It's life goals. It's personal goals. It's a all-encompassing, because we know you're not running a company because you just love being an electrician. Right. The whole reason that we do what we do is so we can have the freedom to do what we want. And maybe you don't have a wife and kids. Maybe you want one in the future. Maybe you're just never going to have one. Whatever it is, setting the goals of what you want out of life. And for a lot of us, it's a good marriage. It's being a good father or mother. But setting those as our goals and as our North Star is the most important direction that we're going. And if that isn't your goal, maybe your North Star is, I want to make as much money as possible. I'm going to be single forever, but I want to have fun partying. Great. Right. That's your North Star. Right. But the majority of the people we work with, they want that well-rounded life that's got family in it, that's got their spouse in it, that's got kids. Maybe you have older kids and you want to see the grandkids more. Whatever it is, let's find that as our goal and not justify we're trying to get there, so I'm going to ignore that stuff now. Right. That's where we see a lot of people of like, well, if it's great, Clark, you make it to all the kids' dance recitals. I can't do that. I've got to work, or we don't put food on the table. Right. I understand that. We've all been there many times. Oh, yeah. That is a different mindset. We're going to dive into this throughout this podcast, but that is okay to feel that, but how do we still build it into where I'm still making the recitals and I'm making that money? I'm still growing the company at the same time that I'm growing my family, right? So that's what today's podcast is about. Yeah. If this doesn't pertain to you, I understand, go ahead and tune out, but I think this pertains to most people in this industry, really any business owner. This is kind of a broader topic, because the difference of employee and business owner is when you're a business owner, you're married to that company, right? I am full-time in charge, and as hard as I work, that's how good we get. And if I'm not working hard, we're not going to make it. Yeah. As opposed to an employee who can coast for a couple months and still get their paycheck coming in.
Well, and I'd venture to say that most people, not everybody, but most people, their why of doing business, owning their own business, is not so that they can own their own business and grow this massive thing and have as much money as possible. Yeah. There are plenty of people. There are some people that's their why.
The priority is usually not ego. There might be ego there, but that's not the priority.
Right. The priority is, I want to grow this big company and make a lot of money so that I can. Yeah. Whatever that why is. Yeah. Right.
And before we get started, this is not us preaching at you because we've got it figured out. Yeah.
You don't.
I don't have it figured out. Jared is the guru here. No, but I struggle daily with giving my kids and wife more than the final 5% of my energy.
The seesaw of that priority, it pops back and forth all the time.
Yeah, it's finding, how do I not bring them my last 5%, but my first 15 to 20%?
Yeah, right? And I'm honestly like a real example of that. You guys say what you want about this, but every once in a while, we will finally we are not doing this on a regular basis, but we will finally put a round of golf on the table, that we're our team, we're going to go out and we're going to play a round of golf. And leading up to that round of golf, we're all like, oh,
can't do it. Let's push it.
I don't. And we have pushed it many of times, and some of them justified. Yeah. But every time we get out and actually make it 3, 4, 5, 10 holes into it, we're like, gosh, I needed this so bad. Yeah. I'm so glad we did this.
Well, and that's going towards our all around health. I mean, it's important for your wife and kids, but you can't give them anything that you don't have. And so being healthy yourself, being well-rounded yourself allows you to give them more and allows you to overflow towards them to where I'm not burning myself out at work and then you have nothing left when I get home.
Right.
And going golfing, right? Well, my pastor actually this past Sunday was talking about busyness and how it's the new fine, right? You know, and why it's so important to not be so busy and what that looks like and how to do that and how is that in reality. And one good thing he said was, if you're someone that works with your hands, do something that uses your brain. Take up a hobby that's using sitting behind a desk playing video games, right? If whatever it is, if you're someone that sits at a desk all day, do some woodworking. Try and just do something for yourself that you enjoy. Right. That's not your normal. If you're a contractor and you like building tables, great. Try to find a hobby outside. Go play golf. Go do something that's outside of construction in general to get your batteries recharged. And again, everyone listens to this, and this is what we're going to get into is, I want that. I need that. I understand that. I don't have time for that. Right. Right. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is how do we get the time and how do we make our company better by actually doing less at work and more outside of work? And how does that coexist with I need to make money or I'm not going to be able to pay the bills?
Yeah. Well, you know, the grind of business, I mean, I enjoy being busy and being in the grind of business, but it's subtracting, right? It requires energy to be in that grind. The result of that grind is beneficial. Yeah. Like, oh man, look at this thing we created. Look at this new product. Look at this house I just finished. Look at this, whatever. That's like, oh, that's fulfilling. But the grind to get there is not a lot of times. It's a taker, right? Yeah. And sometimes you can be in that grind for a very, very long time and you look up and you're like, dude, I'm bummed out. Yeah. And just one round of golf, that's just what we're using. But just one round of golf for us gives us this vigor, you feel, lighter, like, oh, dude, that was great. Let's get the teams connected and whatever. So there's a lot of value to don't just put your head down and grind, hoping that one day you're going to get there. One of the things that is in our notes to say is like, and we've said this many, many times, I'm working 70, 80 hours a week right now. I'm putting in all these hours and I'm going to do this and I'm going to get to the other season and then I'll be able to do this thing. Yeah. The problem with that, in our experience, every season has its own problems. Yeah. And I don't know if the next season's going to be even busier or more difficult.
That became a joke around my house. Like as soon as we're out of this season, it became a running joke because that was, I mean, when I started the company 20 years ago, this is just, I got to grind. I got to get it there. Once we get there, I'll get a hire in and I'll slow down. We can blah, blah, blah. And here's the problem with once I get done with this season is next season, there's one of three ways it's going to go. Yeah. Either I was unsuccessful and now I got to grind even harder to get back. Yeah. I wasn't successful, but I wasn't unsuccessful, just kind of medium. So I got to keep grinding and I'm still in the same season. Or I was super successful and I got to capitalize and keep growing. Right. Right. I hired 3 people. We're ready to go. I kind of replaced myself. I'm not on site being a project manager anymore. I'm a general manager now in my company. Well, hiring these people, we're in the same financial position. I got to now find those jobs. I got to find the secretary. I got to bring in an office manager. I got to bring in the next person. And so it's a whole new set of busy. Oh yeah, that lands when you're super successful, and when you're not.
When you're in the season before that, you can't see it. Yeah. You can't anticipate like what the next season is going to bring.
Yeah. The only season of rest when you're a business owner is when you retire, sell the company, or go to the hospital,
or hit neutral. Yeah. Which I have yet to meet the person who's ready to just hit neutral in their business.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, what does hitting neutral mean? Yeah. Because usually that's slowing the company down, and now I got to jump back in next month and try and churn up more business because I wasn't doing it. So do not wait for next season. Yeah. Number one thing today is the season we're in, we're going to win this season. Yep. Right. And so we're going to, if we can form it, and this isn't going to be changed by tomorrow, but if we can form this season into a healthy norm for myself and my family,
Yep.
the company will be more successful. I promise you, we've seen it time and time again. We'll give some examples later, but there is some definite truth in the healthier I am, the healthier my marriage is, the healthier my kids are, the healthier my business is.
100%.
And so it's all in one big basket together. You can't separate those out. Well, the company's doing really well, but I'm probably getting divorced. Well, then who cares if your company's doing well? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, why, that's not what you want in your life. Like, what?
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to get what you want.
Well, and this topic is near and dear to my heart because the last lesson that my dad gave me before he passed away was not one that he actually gave me, but what I learned from reflecting on his life. He had the mentality, and he said this to me 100 times, son, if you do what you have to do long enough, eventually you get to the place where you can do what you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
And at the time when he spelled that out, also because he exuded confidence, so it was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
But at the time it was like, oh, okay, cool. So I just need to grind and I need to do what I have to do, and eventually I'll get to that place, right? He did that for a very long time, delayed his desires, his gratification, the things that take the time for himself and to pour into his family and all this stuff. He delayed that for a period of time. And then when he finally retired, he got sick. And within a short period of time, he passed away.
Yeah.
Right. And he never got to experience the spoils of his diligence.
Yeah. And he had... First half of his career was struggles, ups and downs, just like a lot of guys have. He found a groove and he became a very successful businessman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there was plenty of times that he could say, hey, you know what? We're making enough money that I could step out and be good.
Yep.
But he kept grinding.
Yep.
Because, well, if I get a little bit further, then I can get that boat.
Yeah,
Not that he was that way. But.
And literally, like, it was, well, you know what? If I put in another year, the retirement would be like this.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if I put in one more year, it'll be like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't make as much as I thought this, so I'm going to put in one more year. And it was when I get around this corner, then I can.
Yep.
And he got around the corner. It was like, one more year. And it wasn't greed. It was like he was a forward thinker of like planning out what he wanted, how he wanted it. And so,
and his wife, your mom was on like, that let's get there and let's do that. And then we can do that for the kids, and we can, the grandkids can come and we'll put the pool in, and we'll it wasn't out of this ego. Like, and I'm speaking, you guys probably don't know, Jared's dad was my baseball coach in high school. So I know the man very well. Yeah. Great man. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm speaking on him, because I know him. But he was a great guy, a great father, a great husband.
Yeah.
But towards the end, it was like, oh, cancer. Mm-hmm. Boom. Everything that you planned on. The next season's here, and it's shorter than expected.
That's right. That's right. Well, and the lesson that I learned is put your priorities, get your priorities straight. What is it that is a priority? Is it my family or is it my business?
Yeah.
Now, for me, it's my kids, it's my wife, it's my family. That's where I want to be able to spend my time, but my business will take as much time as I can possibly give it. So let me set it up for success and take those moments, live your life, right? Give yourself the grace in your own business to say, you know what? We're doing it. Yeah. We're going to play golf. I'm not going to spend the rest of this day grinding out this thing. I'll do it in the morning. I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to my boys' baseball game or your girls' recital or whatever it is. I'm going to choose that because there's what I've realized from having kids is that yes, my kids want treats and Nintendo Switches and all of the things that money can buy them. But what they want more than that is me to be there. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And whether they know it or not, like that's what they actually desire. They desire that more. My boy is super excited to be able to stand in the backyard and throw a baseball with me. Yeah. Right? There's no Nintendo Switch. There's no, crazy money I'm spending. He every day wants that, right? And I can either work my business to plan to be there for that, or I can say, you know what, I'm not going to be there for that. And this is where my dad was at the beginning of my life. He was not around a lot, but we wanted for nothing. We had everything and then some. but I wanted him.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's just some of the priority shift that I got, the last lesson that my dad gave me, which is why this is kind of near and dear to my heart. So how do we do that? What are how do you make that happen?
Well, first off, you're real with yourself. You're honest about a few things. One thing that we all fall into often is I justify the mistress of my company, the mistress, by saying it's better for my wife and kids that I'm spending all the time here.
Right.
We lie to ourselves about that. And so looking at that and saying, hey, I'm doing this for you guys, so that's why I'm not at home. When they're saying, I understand that. And again, we'll talk about this in a second, that there's seasons where it's like, I'm not going to be able to pay the rent.
Right.
The mortgage won't get paid if I don't get to work.
The reality of life may dictate difference.
Yes. Yeah. But at the same time, there's always seasons of that and there's seasons of not that. And so when we're not in that season, we're in the growth season. How do we grow the company continually and not steal from our family to justify the mistress, right? How do we not do that?
I can go one of two roads, right? I can enter into that season of grind with order and a plan, or I can enter into it in chaos and completely out of control. It's controlling me, and I just have to keep going. There's no system and order around it that's going to dictate how it's going to go. It's controlling me. I'm not controlling it.
Yeah. So to get started on getting out of the place you're at and getting to a spot where you're living the life you want, the first question is really the hardest question that you might need to pause this and think about.
Yeah.
Do you actually want to be home with your wife and kids? Do you like being around them? Do you want to be around them? Or do you enjoy being at work?
Right.
Do you just find value at work and I'm not valued at home? That's the reality of it.
It's a real question.
And a lot of guys, it's not even I don't like my wife or I don't like my kids. It's I don't know how to be a good husband. I don't know how to be a good father subconsciously. But I'm really good at being a contractor. I'm really good at being a technician.
Right.
So I'm going to do what I'm good at, and hopefully I learn to be a father and a husband along the way. And the more I'm comfortable with that, the more I'll put time into that. But you're never going to be good at something if you don't put the time in.
Right.
And so that's the first question. Why is your brain saying I want to be at home more, but your actions are saying I'm not at home?
Yeah.
Right. And so where is the fear there? That is if you don't know the answer to that question, if the answer is not 100%, that isn't me. I want to be home. I would do anything to be with my wife and kids more. I'm going to tell you, this isn't popular in the construction world. Go get a freaking therapist.
Oh yeah.
Go talk to someone and understand why I am not desiring that.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got a bad marriage. Maybe I don't like my wife, and maybe my kids are jerks because their father hasn't been around. Right? Like maybe there's some truth there. Go to a therapist and figure that out with your wife. Go to a therapist by yourself and figure that out. Therapy is not a bad thing. It is a tool that we use. You go to the doctor when your body's sick. You go to a therapist to check in and see, why is my brain working that way? Why am I not wanting to be home? Why am I always choosing work? It is we strongly suggest starting there.
Yep. Well, go ahead. I think that anybody, I would imagine, anybody, if they're real honest with themselves and they're looking at which one is more valuable, work or people, relationships, everybody's going to say,
being a dad, being a husband,
or friends, being there for friends, being there for family, whatever it is. Like, if work is where I'm putting all of my efforts and all of my time, and I don't have any time for relationships and people, I think anybody's going to be honest with themselves and say, yeah, that's out of balance. Yeah. Right now, along the road you were going, there might be a reason for that of like, I'm not respected there. I don't enjoy being there, and I'm respected and valued over here. And that's where I want to spend my time in a place where I'm respected and valued.
I'm just going to stay at the office.
If that's the case, my previous statement means that your life priorities are upside down. They're backwards, right? So go to a therapist, have them help process through that. I think there's incredible value to that.
Right? Even if, listen, I'm not an advocate for divorce, but if that's where you're headed, don't live there right now. Go to a therapist, work it out, figure out if this is going to continue. But if you're living in a spot where work is a priority over everything, get help. Get out of that spot, because we've all been there. We've all been in that, and it's very easy to justify the mistress by pointing at, well, I'm doing it for you. And it's not true.
And I promise the work mistress will let you down. It will not satisfy what you're trying to get out of.
Absolutely. So once we get that question answered, do I really want to be home more? Do I really want to invest more with my wife? Do I really want to invest more with my kids? The next step, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is the truth. It's the processes and procedures of getting proactive with your time and time management. How do we set that in place one step at a time? We preach all the time. We talk about, how do I find an hour a week to work on my company? How do I work that into 4 hours a week that I'm working on every Monday and Tuesday for the first 2 hours of the day? I'm going to work on my company. The rest of the week and the rest of those days, I'm out doing estimates, doing all that stuff. How do I get rid of the fires that are popping up to where I own my calendar and can be proactive? Because when I own it and can be proactive, instead of driving out to a job site at 4:30, I'm actually driving to the baseball game. And so how do we get to that spot? Now, we all have fires. Fires happen. Living as a firefighter steals your time from your family. And so if we can get past living with the fires, and fires are a reaction once every other week, and it's a small flame that I can put out before it becomes a big flame. If we can get to that spot, you can own your calendar and start carving out the time that you want.
This makes me think of my conversation that I have with a buddy of mine on a semi-regular basis. At the beginning of this, the first thing that you have to do is choosing your priorities, right? I'm going to make this a priority. And I can hear people in the comments going, I hear you. I just don't have time for that. Business, it's just too busy. I got too many clients. I got too many fires. It is a priority. I just don't have time. And just like my buddy, who is a personal trainer, has said to me when I've said, dude, I hear you. I want to go to the gym. I want to be physically in a better shape and better health. I just don't have time. And he says, it's just not a big enough priority for you.
How was Netflix last night?
Right? I mean, that's what he says. And you know, one of the things that you've used in business before, when an employee was supposed to be somewhere and didn't show up or didn't get something executed, and they said, well, I just didn't have time, this, whatever. And you would say, okay, let me ask you a question. If every time you're supposed to show up for this, I had a $100 bill on your table, would you show up? Well, yeah. Well, then it's a priority problem, not a time problem, because you could make it happen. It just wasn't a high enough priority for you. And so that's the variable at the beginning of this that you have to realize. You do and can make time for the thing that is the biggest priority in your life. And if you get to the place where you're like, you know what? I want to make the biggest priority being there for my family, even if it's just a little bit. I want to increase the amount of time that I'm able to be there for my family. Then make that the priority, and then you back in your time management and your systems. You apply those into your business to give you the result that you want.
And you know, not to be self-promoting, if this is hitting you at all, please come to our retreat in January. Because what we do on that retreat is, you can't solve this overnight, and it's very hard to solve it by yourself, or it would have been solved by now. What we do on the retreat in January is we zoom out. We go 30,000 foot view. We look at you, your company, and how it's operating, and we start tweaking. We start looking, what if this happened? What if this happened? Because we all have the same amount of time, and there's some of us that are successful in what we're doing that are also spending time with their family. Why is that? Why is that different than what you're doing? It's because when you take 17 calls from your crew tomorrow, and the other contractor that's being more successful has 2 calls because he's organized and has his processes in place, those 15 extra calls that you're taking is what's sucking your time. Those are 3 hours of phone calls that you're wasting your time on that you should have been at home. And so those are the small stuff. But if we don't get those in place, you don't go from 17 calls to 15 calls to 13 calls to 8 calls. It's over time, tweaking and getting the company in a position that we're proactively growing and getting our priorities met.
Right.
And so that if you don't do anything come to our retreat. If you need a scholarship, hit us up. Like, get there and start there.
Yeah.
Come to the retreat, spend 3 days with us in Nashville. We sit down and we look at your company and say, okay, let's look at this. Jared and I are with you. We're in a room with the people we coach and other people that come on the retreat, and we walk you through how to start organizing your company and setting up these processes, procedures, and time management skills to where we're not going to fix it by tomorrow,
right,
but let's tweak these 3 things. And by next week, start tweaking this. And by next month, what if you had a full half day that you're doing this? And as it's one of those, once you get the ball rolling downhill, it just starts getting bigger and bigger in a positive way. Because once you start doing that, the fires start going down. And once the fires start going down, there's more time to do it. And the more you do it, the less fires you have. And so it is something that if you can get in that spiral upward, where the more that you're spending time on growth and processes and building a company, the more you're owning your time and can prioritize your family and what you want and getting what you want out of this company. It all works hand in hand.
Yeah.
So
I've got one of the guys that I coach that comes to mind.
Yeah.
That one of the things that he said to me more than one time is that he worked really, really diligently in the beginning to apply time management systems and processes and all the stuff. But specifically when it comes to time management, he says the weeks that I didn't realize this until I had a week that I wasn't managing my time. And the week that I didn't manage my time, my stress level was through the roof. It was because my time wasn't managed, and so every day everything was everything.
Yeah.
And so there was no systems, processes, there was no organization about how I was going to get things executed. So everything became everything, and my stress level was super high. Immediately, the week or two after, once I got back into my rhythm, I was still executing the same stuff. I was still dealing with the same things, the crews, the problems, the clients, the fires. I was still dealing with that stuff. But because my time was managed, my stress was so much less. Yeah. And just bare minimum, if you're listening to that, and you're like, dude, I'm stressed every freaking day, manage your time better.
Yeah.
I promise you, it seems counterintuitive to wait, I'm stressed because I feel like I can't get enough done.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I need to spend time working on how I'm going to get things done is going to make things better.
Yeah.
I promise you. It seems counterintuitive, but it works.
Yeah.
And I've seen it time and time again that different guys that we work with who really dial in on this stuff, there's a gratifying piece for us of seeing people successful in business, their revenue going up, they're making more profit, making good money in a business. That's gratifying. But the thing that's really, really that we just love is that when we're seeing these people start to develop their business, but their life is getting better.
Yeah.
Because they've got time to actually live their life, and their business isn't living their life for them.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen that in multiple different contractors that have gone through or currently going through our contracting or coaching business, and it just works. That's why when we first start, we don't start with how to hire somebody. We start with the 3 base fundamentals, and the very beginning of that is time management. We're going to spend a lot of time on helping you figure out how to organize your time and just find small pockets. And then we dial in on that and dial in on that. And the efficiency comes in when we start applying systems and processes. That efficiency takes you from 15 contractor or subcontractor phone calls a day down to 5.
Yeah.
Right? All of that stuff put together decreases your stress and allows you to have a space where you're managing your time, and the priorities in your life you can actually make a priority versus delaying them till hopefully another season.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important questions we ask in coaching is hey, how's your marriage? How's being a dad working for you? How's
They're
being
always
a mom
thrown off a little bit when I ask those questions.
I don't know. You're a business coach, right?
Yeah.
No, I understand that. But the ultimate goal of what success is how is your life, not how many dollars you have in the bank account. I don't care if you're making $50,000 or $50 million. Are you happy?
Right.
Are you connected? Are you achieving what you want in your personal life outside of this business? And hopefully you're making a lot of money because that makes it easier to take vacations and do fun things with your family. We get it. Who said it? Some comedian said, money doesn't buy happiness, but I've never seen someone not smiling on a jet ski. Right? Like, right. I get it. Money is how we can get the time, the vacations, the fun stuff, the nicer house, the nicer cars. But none of that matters if you don't have a wife to live in that house with you. If you don't have kids that enjoy you, like it doesn't matter what size of that house is. So that is our goal as a company, as coaches, as in our software and what we've built in our community there. All of it is going towards making what your priorities are a priority for the company as well, not just a separate priority. If the company gets there, then I'll figure out my marriage.
That's right.
So having it a full, all inclusive package is how you get healthy and how you get successful.
Yeah. So if you want help with this, I mean, obviously you can take this information and go, you know what, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to prioritize. But if you've had many years of that kind of thought and still haven't been able to do it and want help with that, like Clark said, get to the retreat.
Yeah.
We will take personal time. Clark and I will take personal time to be involved in what's going on, what are you doing, what's working, what's not working, how do we fix it, and let's create that time. If there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. I don't have money to do that. We have another product called the ProStruct Boot Camp, right? What that is it's essentially our 101 level of time management, systems and processes, and finances. Yeah. It's teaching you how to start implementing that into your life, your business, how to organize those things. It's a 12-week process every Friday morning for an hour. It's done as a group on a webinar, but you're able to attend it, and it's a minimal cost. But that's another product that I think if you're like, I can't make it to the retreat, there's no way I can do that. Start there. Yeah. If you want to do both, they're both available. We've got the next rotation of the boot camp coming up in about a month or two, something like that. Get signed up. Go to our website. Yeah. Go to the events page, and you can find both of them. The retreat is on there. You can go in and sign up for that, or you can sign up for the boot camp. But
if you want to hear more, too, reach out to us. Hit the contact us. We'll talk you through it. The boot camp is a great place to start. It's like $300 a month. So, it's not a lot of money for 3 months, and it's not a long-term commitment. It's not nothing else, but it's starting your time blocking. 1 hour a week on Fridays, you're going to work on your company. If you come to that and you love it and you want to come to the retreat, we'll put that money that you spent on that towards your retreat cost. Yeah. We'll go ahead and push it if that's where you want to be at. So again, our goal is to grow you as a company and have that long-term relationship with you, to be there as you need us. If you don't need us yet, great. Come on the retreat. Don't use us for coaching. Let's get you organized and launch you into 2025 and really work hard in getting what you want out of life through the company that you're building.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya. Bye.